Lilian Silburn, A Mystical Life. This book presents the life and work of Lilian Silburn, one of the greatest French Indianists and a specialist in Kashmir Shaivism, Tantrism, and Buddhism. A philosopher by training, she was one of the first to make known in the West the writings of the Kashmiri mystical philosophers. Most importantly, Lilian became the spiritual friend of a great Indian Sufi master, Radha Mohan, or Bhai Sahib, with whom she would make many and long stays from 1950 until his death in 1966. Hello to you, wherever you are. My name is Paul Clemens, publisher of Pelican Pond and Blue Dolphin Publishing. After 44 years and publishing some 320 books on psychology, self-help, comparative spiritual traditions, health and healing, and whatever might help people lead a happier, more conscious life, I tried to retire in 2016. However, the author of Lilian Silburn, Une Vie Mystique, sent me the English translation of her manuscript, and I felt compelled to publish Lilian Silburn, A Mystical Life. We had originally published Irina Tweedy's Daughter of Fire, a diary of a spiritual training with a Sufi master, in 1986, in which Lilian is referred to as simply L. But it was Lilian, in fact, who introduced Bhai Sahib, or Radha Mohan, to Mrs. Tweedy, and had already been his student for 10 years. This book, Lilian Silburn, A Mystical Life, presents the life and work of Lilian Silburn, 1908 to 1993, who was one of the greatest French Indianists and a specialist in Kashmir Shaivism, Tantrism, and Buddhism. A philosopher by training, she was one of the first to make known in the West the 1,000-year-old writings of the Kashmiri mystical philosophers. Most importantly, Lilian became the spiritual friend of a great Indian Sufi master, Radha Mohan, Bhai Sahib, with whom she would make many and long stays from 1950 until his death in 1966. Then, near Paris, and surrounded by friends attracted to her personality and her spiritual power, Lilian led a simple, active life devoted to her translations and deepening inner experiences. And through the grace of her master, she was able to induce others into states of profound peace and bliss. Lilian endeavored to help others discover, within the silence and ordinary life, the non-way, which had been revealed to her by her master. Illustrated with photographs, Lilian Silburn, A Mystical Life, contains a large number of personal writings and letters, and presents us with a priceless testimony of Lilian's exceptional spiritual and philosophical experience. She was both a great scholar and a great mystic. And now I would like to read a few short passages from the book to give you a feeling for who Lilian was. On her first encounter with the Guru and her experience, Lilian left several stories and letters and diaries. In an impulse of generosity, she immediately wants her closest friends to discover the extraordinary experience that she is going through, and she writes long letters according to the personality of each correspondent. Lilian will think of J.R., with whom she shared her first inner emotions at age 15. Don't think that it is by negligence that I have not written to you in the last 2 years that I have been in India. But the first year I could only have described to you the beauty of Kashmir, my love for India, which was already too much. Then, the second year, it became impossible, because last April I met here in Kanpur, by a miraculous combination of circumstances, what is called here a guru, a spiritual guide, and what I have so much desired, and even before I am realizing it, and far beyond my wildest hopes. Never had I hoped to find such a mystic and saint, and not one, but several. His father was a saint. His guru, a Sufi nearly 100 years old, is still alive. His uncle, wonderful too, has died. His older brother is also great, and there are others. From the bottom of my heart, it was St. John of the Cross that I wanted to find. Christian humility, inner destitution beyond all vision, etc. Last April I came to visit the Guru for the first time, my critical mind on the alert, and, like the others, I tested him in many ways. Needless to say that the photos and handwritings of his family and his masters amazed me. I was at a famous pilgrimage in the north in Hardwar. I was swimming in the Ganges when, suddenly, I was plunged into Shanti, a peace that isn't at all in line with what we can normally experience. An incredible sweetness of contact with oneself, stopping any worry, a yogic slumber of the body and of thought, but which leaves the consciousness in a soothing state of plenitude. My happiness was such that, for a fortnight, without drinking or eating, I wandered in the forest full of wild animals that I actually never saw, sleeping under the trees, under white thorns in bloom. I remember I could no longer speak. Nothing can give you an idea of such a state. One is in the present without being torn by the past or worrying about the future. Art is only a morning dew. Since then, I've been living in ecstasy, samadhi. My meditation is everlasting. We are absorbed in a wonderful presence that can be called God. It is such that we are unable to think of anything else. Plunged in a carefree state, infinite plenitude, bliss which lasts for hours, but also the night of the spirit and its torture, which is a samadhi of too much. The bliss and the divine love become so extreme that one cannot bear them without moaning. I happen to scream with pain at night. My joy, which is marvelous for the first second, becomes a torture the next second by its very excess. It is useless to speak of those things which, as long as you haven't experienced them, will remain a dead letter. But all are intense, and nothing is a continuation of what we have already experienced. Bliss, for example, is of the whole being. Body and soul become one. We are only a conscious mass of bliss, and this for hours, no more and no less, bliss in every bit of the body. But this love without desire, that doesn't recognize itself, is greater still. It is part of the painful path, of the nights, and few are the ones who experience it. All the other disciples only know the bliss. A month ago, it was a great happiness for my guru when he saw that such was my way, similar to his. Perfect surrender to the guru, or rather to God, is required. But this surrender comes spontaneously as soon as one has tasted the soothing reassurances, and the guru never asks for anything other than what you want for yourself. Guru rather than God, because at first we have not realized God, or if we realize it, it's without knowing it. Otherwise, any word, any teaching is useless. Everything is transmitted in silence. We don't talk a lot, if not for laughing, as my guru has a great sense of humor. My guru makes me skip different steps, but I must carefully note all of my experiences in order to guide others, and also to write later on. Needless to say that writing doesn't really enchant me. I only want silence and solitude, and nothing else interests me, except giving the same thing to friends who I feel are ready, that is to say, aspiring to the absolute, ready to sacrifice everything for him. And you are among the first ones I thought of. To be continued. You may order either the printed book or the ebook through Amazon.com in whatever country you are located, or ask your local bookstore to order a copy from their distributor and perhaps stock it on their shelves. Lilian Silburn, A Mystical Life. Thank you.